Okay, number 31. Managed competition in healthcare most often refers to A. Healthcare providers administered by competing management companies. B. Healthcare providers competing by type of specialty. C. Grouped healthcare providers competing within a geographic region. And D. Managed care organizations. Okay, when we say managed competition, so it is the policy framework designed to combine elements of market competition with government regulation in the provision of public services, particularly in sectors such as healthcare, utilities, and education. So, what's the best answer here? Anyone?
It's a C group healthcare providers competing within a geographic region.
Very good, Doc Nadim. Yes, that's the correct answer because this one is providing services within specified geographic regions. Okay. What about for the others? So for the letter A, this option is emphasizing management companies, which are not a core aspect of managed competition. While for letter B, this focuses on competition between individual specialties like surgeons versus pediatricians, so which is narrower than the broader concept of the managed competition. While for letter D, managed care organizations, these are often involved in competitive frameworks. So this option is too narrow because I said a while ago, this managed competition refers to a broader concept of healthcare groups competing in specific regions, including but not limited to managed care organization. Okay, so next, number 32. In managed care, the most common form of reimbursement for primary physicians is A. Straight salary, B. Capitation without withholds, C. Capitation with withholds, D. Discounted fee for service. What's the answer for this?
Capitation with withholds.
Yes, it's correct. Letter C. Capitation with withholds. Okay, in managed care systems, primary care physicians are often reimbursed through a capitation model with withholds. Withholds mean to deduct from a payment and hold back. So under this model, physicians receive a fixed amount per patient per capita for providing care, regardless of how many services the patient uses. So for letter A, it is uncommon in managed care because it does not incentivize the cost control or performance. While letter B, this does exist but is less common. Okay, managed care organizations often use withholds as a mechanism to encourage cost, efficiency, and quality performance. While for the letter D, this involves the paying physicians for each service provided but at a reduced rate compared to traditional fee for service. For number 33, outside the US, most industrialized nations offer which type of health care insurance? Letter A, universal coverage. B, employer-based coverage. C, managed care. D, managed competition. Okay, anyone? Radha?
Universal coverage, maybe.
Yes, you are right. So letter A is it is universal coverage. So the rationale for this, most industrialized nations outside the US, these provide the universal coverage, ensuring that all citizens have access to healthcare services, regardless of their employment status or financial situation. For the letter B, this is a primary feature of the US healthcare system. So in this model, health insurance is tied to employment, leaving unemployed individuals or those in precarious jobs without access to coverage. While for the managed care, refers to systems where healthcare providers and insurers coordinate care to control costs and improve quality. And lastly, managed competition. This involves the multiple insurers competing for customers under government-regulated conditions. Okay. Number 34, the most basic components of managed care include all except. So we are looking for the incorrect answer here. For letter A, prepaid financing, B, comprehensive services at multiple levels and settings, C, controlled access to services, and D, broad choice of providers.
The broad choice of providers.
Okay. Yes, it's letter D, broad choice of providers, because managed care focuses on controlling the cost. Okay, so this improving efficiency and coordinating care. The broad choice of providers is not a component of managed care. So all this prepaid financing, the comprehensive service, and the control access to services are all basic components of the managed care. Number 35, who is responsible for providing the continuous quality improvement direction? A, facilitator, B, quality council, C, leader, D, team. What's the answer? Dr. Gulam?
Leader.
Okay, who else has the answer?
C.
Okay, the correct answer is quality council. It is typically responsible for providing direction for the continuous quality improvement, or the CQI. So this group sets the goals, priorities, and strategies for the CQI efforts, while facilitator helps guide CQI activities and meetings, ensuring that the process runs smoothly. So they provide support and expertise, but do not set the direction. For letter C, leader may oversee a CQI team or support the CQI efforts, but the broader direction typically comes from the Quality Council rather than an individual leader. While for letter D is responsible for implementing CQI initiatives and making improvements in specific areas, but they follow the guidance and priorities set by the Quality Council. Clear? 36. You have joined the newly merged Preferred Health, a for-profit integrated delivery system, or the IDS. As Vice President for Quality, you are responsible for re-engineering or otherwise integrating the quality management or quality improvement function across the provider network. So based on your understanding of systems, corporate culture, ethics, quality, leadership's influence, and strategic planning, answer of the following: the measure most indicative of the IDS ability to provide value to its stakeholders are. So the IDS, or the integrated delivery systems, aims to provide a high quality care while controlling costs to deliver value to stakeholders, including patients, providers, and payers. For choices, A, improvements in patient outcomes and reduced cost of care. B, an annual report with a positive bottom line. C, improvements in patient outcomes and patient satisfaction. D, reduced cost of care and competitive pricing.
A, patient outcome. Improvements, patient outcome, and reduced cost of care.
Of care. Yes, you are correct, Radha. Why? Because improvements in patients' outcomes, which indicating quality, and reduced cost of care, which indicates efficiency. So these both are directly reflecting on the system's ability to achieve these goals. So these are the most reliable indicators of the value provided by the IDS. While for the B, C, and D, they're all incorrect, because for letter B, financial performance is important, but it does not directly reflect the quality of care or the value provided to patients and other stakeholders. While letter C, this one is patient satisfaction is an important too, but does not directly indicate cost efficiency, which is critical to demonstrating values in IDS. For letter D, these measures might indicate efficiency but do not address the quality of care, which is essential for providing true value. Number 37, who is ultimately responsible for the effective implementation of the quality program? A, governing body. B, CEO, C, all staff, D, CFO, or Chief Financial Officer? What's the answer
All
for this?
staff
Okay, who has other answer?
responsible for
Okay, here is asking for the ultimately responsible.
ultimate
Ultimately
response.
responsible. Who has the
Governing body.
answer? It's
Governing.
governing. Yes, it's governing body. So the governing body, who are? These are the board of directors, who are ultimately responsible for the effective implementation of a quality program. So they have the authority and accountability for ensuring the organization's quality standards. Okay, for the CEO, plays also a crucial leadership role in executing the quality program and providing operational support. The ultimate responsibility lies with the governing body, which holds the CEO accountable for all the staff. All staff members contribute to the quality program success, but they do not have the ultimate accountability because their role is to follow the guidelines and standards set by leadership, while the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, focuses primarily on financial matters. Yes, including budgeting for quality initiatives, but they are not responsible for overseeing the entire quality program. Clear? Okay, for number 38, the principle underlying the selection of an organization-wide quality council is A, one oversight body, B, leadership control, C, one cross-functional team, D, elimination of department service quality control. What's the answer?
The one A.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the correct answer. It's one oversight body. Okay, so going back to the Quality Council or the Performance Improvement Council, so in here, the one oversight body is the correct answer for Quality Council. Okay, moving on to number 39. As Director of Quality Resource Management for an integrated delivery system, you have been asked to provide information prior to renegotiation of a contract with a national preferred provider network. What data will be most helpful? A, reimbursement minus charges. Okay, letter B, reimbursement minus cost. Letter C, charges minus reimbursement. And D, charges minus cost. What's the answer? The correct answer here is reimbursement minus cost. So it's letter B. When renegotiating a contract, the most important number is reimbursement minus cost.
Cost.
Why? Because this tells how much profit or loss is made after covering the actual expenses of providing care. I'll give you an example. If a procedure costs $500 to perform and the reimbursement is $700, so how much is the profit?
200.
Yes, exactly. So if the reimbursement is only 400, so there's a how much is loss? If the reimbursement is only 400, there is a $100 loss. So this metric helps decide if the contract is fair and financially sustainable. It ensures the reimbursement rates are enough to cover costs and provide a reasonable profit margin. While for the letter A, reimbursement minus charges, this compares the money received. So that is what you call the reimbursement to the billed prices or charges. So, however, these charges often don't represent the real cost of care, as many contracts include discounted or negotiated rates. This makes this metric unreliable for assessing financial health. A hospital charges, I'll give you an example. Hospital charges $1,000 for a procedure, so which is the listed price or charges. However, the hospital has a contract with an insurance company that only reimburses $600 for that procedure, which is a negotiated rate. So in this case, the charges is equals to $1,000. What the reimbursement here is $600. So what is the difference of the reimbursement minus charges? Reimbursement minus charges. I said charges is $1,000 and reimbursement is $600. The
For
formula is
for
reimbursement minus
minus
charges.
charges.
Yes. What's the answer? So $600 minus $1,000 will give you negative
Negative
$400.
balance.
So this negative number might suggest a financial loss, but it doesn't reflect the actual cost of providing the care. So for instance, if the hospital cost to perform the procedure is only $500, so they are still making a profit of $100.
$100.
Yes, despite the negative metric. So this shows why reimbursement minus charges is not useful for assessing financial viability because it doesn't account for the real cost of care or the impact of negotiated rates. Clear? For letter C, charges minus reimbursement shows the discount or the amount of billed charges that are not paid. For example, if a hospital charges $1,000 for a service, but it is reimbursed or returned only $600. So the difference is
$400.
$400. So this $400 reflects the discount, but it doesn't tell whether the hospital made a profit or loss because it ignores the actual cost of providing the service. So if the cost was 500, the hospital would still lose $100 despite the discount. So therefore, this metric is not useful for evaluating profitability. What about letter D? Charges minus cost. Charges minus cost shows the markup or profit based on billed prices. Like if a hospital charges $1,000 for a service and it costs $500 to provide, the markup is $500. However, this metric is not useful for contract negotiations because bill charges are inflated and do not reflect the actual reimbursement rates. Okay? Clear? Okay. So number 40. According to Total Quality Management or TQM principles, managers should A. Lead with autocratic decision making, B. Communicate successes or failures only to the boss, C. Lead with participative decision making, D. Focus on short term financial impact of quality improvement techniques. What's the best answer?
Participative decision making.
Yes, so it's letter C, lead with participative decision making. Very good. Participative decision making, this involves engaging employees at all levels of the organization in decision making process because it promotes collaboration, communication, and shared responsibilities. Why not A, autocratic decision making? Because
This
this
is
involves,
in cases of um,
yes, involves
big
leaders making decision without rather,
without without the people working our employees
yes,
or
exactly. Without consulting others. So which is contrary to the collaborative spirit of the TQM. What about letter B? Communicate successes or failures only to the boss is incorrect because in
yeah.
the context of TQM, it weakens the principles of transparency, collaboration, and shared responsibility that are central to TQM. While letter C is focus on short, it can lead to compromising quality for the sake of immediate cost savings, potentially harming customer satisfaction and employee morale. Okay, any question or any unclear doubts or for clarification?
Okay.
Okay. So if none, so we will proceed now to our next topic. Okay, wait, time lost now. Are you all still here? Okay, so let's proceed to our next. Praise all yourselves because this quite a little long lecture. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so now I will give the performance improvement and measure lecture. So our objectives tonight are to learn the overview of the healthcare quality management concepts, methodologies, and tools for continuous improvement in healthcare organizations. So let's get started. Explanation of the stages of quality management, starting from its definition and importance, followed by the role of leadership, performance improvement, and the steps for implementing quality, focusing on the Juran methodology. In the first lecture, so we learn about what quality means, its scope, the definition of quality, the history of quality, and in the next chapter, which is leadership, we understood the importance of leadership in implementing quality. We discussed its role in setting strategic goals, creating strategic plans based on them, and initiating steps to apply quality. The first and most important step in any quality initiative is leadership commitment. So we understood the first two steps, and now we will proceed to the third step, which are applying quality and improving performance. What does performance improvement mean? So performance improvement is the same as quality improvement. It is also quality management. It's total quality management or continuous quality improvement, which is the main concept in performance improvement. The concept of the performance improvement involves the shifting from individual performance to organizational system or process performance. This aligns with the core concept of continuous quality, shifting the focus from individuals to improving the system and processes to minimize human errors. No matter how much we train and prepare humans, errors can still occur because we are human beings. To err is human. It is a natural aspect of humanity, and our goal is to create systems that reduce human error. For instance, similar medications must be separated to prevent mix-ups. Independent double checking is another measure. Having someone else review your work ensures that if a mistake occurs, whether due to oversight or confusion, there is a safeguard against latent errors. Now, performance improvement, what exactly is it? When we say performance improvement, we first need to define performance. Performance refers to how we execute a process, what is done, and how well it is done to provide healthcare. We had pointed out in the lecture on chapter 1 about the Juran trilogy, and said Duran is one of the quality pioneers. He said, for you to conduct quality management, you need to follow the quality management cycle. He said, which passes through three stages: the quality planning, quality control, and quality
Quality improvement.
improvement. These three stages are basically complementary to each other. Okay. So in the quality planning stage, sorry for that. Okay. In the quality planning stage, I will work on identifying the customers, requirements, and who is the customer I have, or what are the needs of the customer. Identify who the customer is and identify the needs of the customers. So in this customer, a patient or a person who wants to consume or buy a specific product. Then you determine what their needs are exactly, and you start translating those needs into our language. Meaning, you try to translate them into your own language. For example, you say, I want to produce a product with specifications such as this and that. This is for the planning phase where I start developing the plan. Then I move to the second phase, which is the quality control phase. Here, I start executing the plan and adhering to it. While implementing the plan to produce the product, I might encounter what is called a sporadic spike. This means I face a variation. When do I call it variation? So, for example, on the production line, I have a product that does not conform to specifications, or I am delivering a specific service and a problem arises, or a sentinel event occurs, or anything happens that is contrary to the quality plan or inconsistent with the plan I developed for the quality plan. So this is what I call a sporadic spike. At this point, I will shift from the control stage. I was into another zone called the zone of quality improvement. So what is the difference between these two? In quality control, you are focused on the process to ensure the product comes out conforming to the specifications. So you conduct a initial analysis, meaning you collect data and ensure that this product or item conforms to the plan you set and everything is going fine. If a variation occurs, I move it into quality improvement. In the quality improvement phase, I conduct intensive analysis. Here, I perform intensive analysis, meaning a root cause analysis. So to understand why this variation occurred, you have to have this root cause analysis. So why did this spike appear? Why this one variation appear? So meaning, so I can address it and bring the process back under control and understand the reasons and address them to ensure they do not happen again. Then I move to the new zone of quality control. Once I finish the intensive analysis, resolve the sporadic spike, and proceed, I return to the quality control. So sum up, the first phase I start with is quality planning, where I develop the plan and begin implementing it. During the implementation of the plan, I am in the quality control phase, ensuring that the process aligns with the specifications and requirements of the patient or consumer. If I have encountered any deviation or variation, such as sporadic spike, I move to the improvement phase to conduct intensive analysis, identifying the reasons that led to this variation, address them, and then move to a new zone of quality improvement. This is the Duran trilogy. He said in the planning phase, you will develop the plan. After that, in the control phase, you transfer the process to operations and begin producing the process, which will align with the service and meet the customer's requirements. Here, you are conducting initial analysis, always keeping your eyes on the process. If any variation occurs, you will enter the quality improvement phase and optimize the process through intensive analysis. Okay, when we say we want to do performance improvement, there are fixed steps that you will find yourself following and applying, regardless of the methodology you used. Whether you used Focus, PDCA, PDSA, Six Sigma, Lean, or any improvement methodology, you will find yourself following the same steps. These steps remain constant. What are these steps? When I tell you go ahead and make an improvement, the first thing you say is, I have many areas in the hospital and there could be many areas needing improvement. So, which area should I start with for improvement? Will the resources you have in the organization help you make improvements in all departments at once? Certainly not, of course. So the problem we often face in healthcare organizations is that I have limited resources. So they were even once asked a question in the exam, why should I do prioritization? Why do I prioritize performance improvement? It is because I have limited resources. And these limited resources are not limited to money or budget. No, the limited resources include many things. And the most important of this is human resources, the employees and staff you have. Everyone has their own commitments. Every doctor has their clinic and patients. Everyone has their clinics and their patients to follow up on. And the resources you have cannot all be pulled together at once for meeting and gatherings to work on improvement. No, you have limited resources that are stretched to the extreme. You try to take one person from each department, but you won't be able to work on improving all departments simultaneously. Thus, the first step is always to do prioritization for the area of improvement. For example, I have issues with medication management, waiting times, turnaround time for tests in the laboratory, communication, parking, and many other areas. So, the first step is to prioritize performance improvement. Now, who is smart enough to tell me? Who does prioritization for performance improvement? Who determines the high risk, problem prone, high cost, and high volume areas? Who identifies this area correctly? The leaders. Yes, through KPIs. But who else? Who's the smartest one? Any guess? Dr. Nadim, Radha, Dr. Guru?
Quality lead.
Yes, it's the quality council or leaders. We mentioned this one last time, right? So we said the quality council's most important role is to prioritize performance improvement areas. All right, after determining it, we now say the first step is prioritization. As the quality council, I prioritize for you and told you to go and work on medication errors. This is the high priority area I will focus on. The second step is that I won't work alone. I will form a
A
team.
team.
It will be a simple cross-functional team or a multidisciplinary team. I will form a team, and this team will not just be from the pharmacy department because I will talk about medication management or medication errors. Should the team only come from the pharmacy? No. We agreed that all departments in the organization, according to patient flow, are interconnected. Thus, when I do any improvement, it must be cross-departmental, not from one department alone or departmental, but cross-departmental. Therefore, the team I form will also be a cross-functional team. All right, we form the team. So as a team, when we start saying we want to do improvement, the first thing we will do is what? Yes?
That set goals.
The first thing is setting goals. Yes, we will determine our objectives. And when I say I want to set goals, it means I will measure because any goal I set must be a
Definition,
starts with
a
letter S.
measurement. Mm.
Yes, very good. It must be a smart goal, as we discussed last time. Okay, smart.
Specific.
Yes, so it must be a smart goal. So I must create a vision, assess the current situation, and set a goal for myself based on this current situation. Of course, it must be achievable, something realistic, not setting myself on realistic goal if I cannot achieve, right? Even you. So the first thing is defining clear, measurable objectives. For example, the case we mentioned was medication errors. This is the process I will work on. I will set a goal for myself by measuring what is the current medication error rate. For example, it is 5% and I want to reduce it to 2%. So I measured the current baseline data and set a goal for myself. I want to reduce the 5% to 2%. Of course, I specify a time frame. After we set the goal, the next step will be what?
Yeah,
It
to
will
make
be,
action.
yes, it will be development of actions. I will develop the plan and start working on it. Develop a detailed implementation strategy, the plan or implementation strategy that I will follow. All right. When I develop the plan, should I apply it organization wide and at all departments simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Or should I test it and try it first on a small scale? What do you think, Dr. Gulam? Dr.
Yes, as a
Nadim?
pilot test on a small scale.
Very good. Yes. When you create a plan, do not exhaust all your energy and resources to apply it organization wide. You should apply it first on a small scale. On a small scale, so that's what we call a pilot test.
Pilot test.
Yes. So the next step is to take this plan and conduct a pilot, meaning try the implementation on a small scale. Apply this plan, for example, to one small department and see if the medication error rate there actually decreases and if the goals are achieved or not. You conducted a pilot test, did a check, and found that improvement indeed occurred and the goals were met. So the next step immediately after that is full implementation. Okay? Meaning to roll out the change
Hospital
organization-wide
wide. Mm.
across the entire organization. Apply it
Mm.
broadly. Then comes the evaluation step. And here in the evaluation phase, you also measure. To evaluate something, you perform a measurement to assess the effectiveness of the improvement. Here, you measure and check whether the goals were met across all departments or not so that you can say whether the improvement achieved was successful or unsuccessful. All right. After performing the evaluation, what is the next step? You must perform
To document everything.
documentation because if you don't document something, meaning it is as if it never happened, right? So
Yeah.
documentation and communication are also necessary. You need to share the results with the entire staff. So there's an important step here that people tend to forget. What is it? What is the step that people forget after celebrating the improvement and the improvement resonates throughout the organization and even the region? What might cause us to regress again? Any answer?
Can share.
It is sustainability. It's
Yes.
monitoring.
Monitoring
Yes,
continue.
monitoring means the continuous follow up of the improvement we implemented. Actually, it is number 9, the monitoring. So it's not like we just make an improvement and rest after that. regression could happen again. So the final step must be to perform monitoring and continuous performance follow-up. All right? Are these steps understood?
Ah,
Okay, these steps are essential for understanding everything that comes next. There is nothing to memorize here. It's all about comprehension. So each step completes the one that follows it. So just to sum up, the first step is to identify the high priority area. Once the high priority area is identified, I form the team. The team sets goal for itself to know what to work towards achieving. Next, we create the plan and apply it on a small scale.
mhm.
After that, it's rolled out organization wide across the entire organization. Then we perform evaluation, documentation, communication, and monitoring.
Sustainable.
Now we will review the different methodologies for performance improvement in planning and development. All right, so let's take a look at the different performance improvement methodologies that we can use when creating the plan or implementing improvement. What are they? So you have the PDCA cycle, the Focus PDCA, the Durant Trilogy, Six Sigma, which can be combined with Lean as Lean Six Sigma, and the 5S methodologies. There are many methodologies that can be used in any performance improvement. Characteristics of the plan in any improvement methodology. What must any methodology, whether it's Six Sigma, continuous improvement, Focus PDCA, or PDCA, so any approach must embody continuous improvement. You represent a continuous improvement as an ongoing effort to enhance processes and outcomes. It must be a systematic, planned, wide organizational and collaborative approach that you can use in any department and at the organizational level. It must also be data driven, which refers to data driven decision making, abbreviated as 3D, data driven decision making, abbreviated as 3D, meaning data driven decision making. This 3DM means that any decision you make will be based on the data you have collected and analyze. You collect and analyze data to measure performance. Improvement must be team based because the team maximizes expertise. Each member has unique expertise and experiences. When we come together as a team, we combine all our expertise to create something effective. Let's move on to the first one, which is PDCA or PDSA. There is not much difference between them. Someone named it PDSA and others called it PDCA. The difference is that one said plan, do, check, act, while the other said instead of check, I will say study. This means I will study the process, not just check it. For example, the PDCA cycle starts with the plan phase. So here you identify the opportunities and plan for change. I will look for the opportunities for improvement I have, as we said earlier. As the first step in any improvement, I will identify the opportunities for improvement and the high risk areas I need to work on. Afterward, I will set up the plan and implement it on a small scale, which is to implement the change on a small scale. Then comes the check phase, where I measure and evaluate whether the goals are met or not. I analyze the result based on learning. After that, there is the act phase, where I take action based on what I have learned. Okay, so that is the PDSA, and the Deming PDCA cycles. Let's take it step by step. The first stage is the plan. In this stage, I do problem identification. I identify the problem I have and draw a flow chart to map out what the problem is, what resources are available, and what resources I might need. I set goals and determine the objectives I want to achieve. Afterward, I create the plan to solve the problem with the available resources. In summary, In the plan phase, you will understand the problem you face, determine the resources available and those you need, define your goal or objective, and start creating the plan. During this phase, some questions arise for collecting data and action plans with goals and targets, such as what is the core problem we need to solve? This is where we identify the problem. What resources do we need? What resources do we have? What is the best solution for fixing the problem with the available resources? You also ask, under what conditions will the plan be considered successful? This means setting the goals. Next comes the do phase. Here, I conduct a pilot test, meaning I test the plan I created on a small scale. This is a small scale implementation, testing the change through a pilot study. In this phase, I focus on educating and training the staff on the new process. This plan represents a new process, so I must educate and train the staff. When it's time to test it, they will have been well trained and will know how to work with it. In this phase, I also gather information on the implementation results by collecting data. After implementing the change or improvement on a small scale, the next step is the check phase. Here, I evaluate whether the improvement was successful or not and whether the goals were met or not. In this phase, you collect data again for analysis and for comparison. You analyze the data from the pilot implementation to see if it aligns with the goals you set. For example, if the goal was to reduce medication errors from 5% to 2%,
Huh?
you check whether this this goal was achieved. Did the targets and goals you set met or not? If the goals were not met and you reach the check phase and find that the goals were not met and the improvement did not achieve what you wanted, then we move to the fourth phase, the act. Or do we go back to the plan? So if I created the plan, implemented it on a small scale, or the do phase, and reached the check phase, only to find that the goals were not met, then the exam might ask, will you go to the act phase or back to the plan phase? To those who say go back to plan are also correct. And those who say go to act are also correct. But what is the actual correct answer? The correct approach is that you must complete the cycle. So you must complete this cycle and then start a new PDCA cycle. You cannot leave the cycle open and say you go back to the plan phase. No, you are in a cycle and you must complete the cycle. You must complete the cycle, finish the cycle, and then start a new one. If it has not worked, you go to step 4 and start a new cycle. You move to step 4, which is act. However, in the act phase, will you fully implement the solution? No. In this phase, even though it's called act, you set recommendations for the new cycle. You list the lessons learned, what you gained from the previous cycle, and your recommendations for the new cycle to adjust the plan. Take note of this point because it's commonly tested in exams. So if you reach the check phase and find that goals were not met, you move to the act phase. However, in the act phase, you include corrective actions, lessons learned, and recommendations for the new cycle. If it worked, if in the check phase you find that the goals were met, then great. You proceed to organizational wide rollout, completing step 4 by applying it across the organization. They may decide to try out more changes and repeat a new cycle. For example, if the goals were not met in the check phase. This means you'll move to the act phase and begin a new PDCA cycle. In the case of successful change, you move to full implementation of the organization wide. If effective, you implement widely. If successful, you begin a new cycle with a different plan. Identify recommendations for the new cycle, identify lessons learned, and use what you've learned to plan new improvements, starting the cycle again. If unsuccessful, begin new cycle with different plan. Now the PTCA cycle is understood. Okay, so do you have any question? If none, let's move on to the next one, which is the focus PDCA cycle. Says in the focus phase, the first step is to find a process to improve. We have already discussed this. When conducting any improvement, you'll find multiple areas for improvement. Thus, find the process to improve means prioritizing the area for improvement. The next step is organize a team that understands the process. Here, you form a multidisciplinary team. That is step 2. The third step is clarify current knowledge of the process. This step involves drawing a flowchart or mapping the process. You create a map of the process from the moment the patient enters until they leave. What are the steps involved? You map them out clearly. This is called a, any guess? This is called a flowchart, which we will be covering along with the other tools in data analytics. So when you clarify current knowledge of the process, you draw the steps of the process you have decided to prioritize and improve. You draw it as a flow chart. After mapping the process steps, what do you need to do? You uncover root causes of variation or poor quality. Identify the root causes or reasons behind the issues in each step of the process. You map out. So this is always the next step after process mapping. Once you have mapped out the steps of the process from the patient's entry to exit, you then pinpoint the problems or challenges in each of these steps. This is typically done using a tool called the Ishikawa diagram or fishbone diagram. Are you all familiar with this?
Yes.
Okay, we learn about it as a tool later, but it's used to showcase the causes of variations. Ishikawa diagram or fishbone diagram showcase the causes of variations or problems. Once you have outlined the cause of problems in the Ishikawa diagram, you will notice there are numerous issues in different steps of the process. Since resources are limited, you cannot address all problems at once. So what's the next step? Select a part of the process to improve. This means you must prioritize. Here, prioritization involves determining the high impact problems that, if solved, will positively influence the rest of the process. For prioritization, tools like the Pareto chart, priority matrix, or multi-voting techniques can be used. There are several prioritization tools, but we'll cover these tools more thoroughly in the data analytics. So in the Focus PDCA cycle, the steps are as follows. Find the process to improve means prioritize the areas for improvement. Organize a team, forming a multidisciplinary team. Number 3, clarify current knowledge means draw a flow chart for the process. Number 4, uncover root causes, meaning identify the root causes of issues at each step. And lastly, select a part of the process to improve, meaning prioritizing the most impactful problems. Once you have prioritized the problem you'll address, you transition to the regular PDCA cycle: plan, implement, check, and act. The focus PDCA now, is it clear for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to Six Sigma. Six Sigma, let's get into the details. Six Sigma was first developed by Motorola. We are now covering the theoretical explanation as the practical application is different. So in practice, there's a workshop where you are assigned tasks and there is continuous follow-up from the instructor. That's the practical side. Here, we are discussing the theoretical framework. In the CPHQ exam, you might be asked to apply the focus of PDCA or Six Sigma. For any improvement project, you choose one methodology. You don't work with two methodologies simultaneously. For example, as a team leader, you decide whether to work with PDCA or focus PDCA, depending on what the team leader and team members agree upon. You choose one methodology to work on, you don't mix methodologies in one project. Now, let's return to Six Sigma. As I mentioned, it was developed by Motorola. Six Sigma is also an improvement methodology focusing on continuous improvement, understanding customer need, analyzing processes, and using performance measurements and statistical methods. When we say statistical methods, we mean using data. It's all about data-driven decision making, collecting, analyzing, and interpreting data. What is the main goal of Six Sigma? The primary goal of Six Sigma is to reduce variation or achieve zero defects. This is a very common exam question. What is the main goal of Six Sigma? The answer is to, what's the answer?
Reduce variation.
Yes. So that's the answer for what is the main goal of Six Sigma. There's a term in Six Sigma called process capability. What does it mean? Process capability is the long-term performance level of the process after it has been brought under statistical control. In other words, it describes the stability of the process, how long it can remain stable once it's statistically controlled and no longer varies. Another definition of process capability is the ability and combination of people, machines, methods, materials, and measurements to produce products that meet customer expectations. The Process Capability Index, or CPK, is a measurement used in Six Sigma. The CPK is a reflection of how well the process occurs within the upper and lower control limits. The higher the CPK, the more in control the process. How does Six Sigma achieve variation reduction? Let's explain with an example here. Imagine the normal distribution curve. Okay, so this is the normal distribution curve, which represents the natural distribution of any data. It has a bell shape where half the data lies in the positive range and the other half in the negative range. That's a normal distribution curve. If I aim to achieve 3 sigma, the curves starts to narrow. Okay, so let's say, for example, this is 0, and this is -1, -2, and this is here -3. So the result will be, okay, the curve starts to narrow. So meaning reducing variation slightly. So for example, the range between +10 and -10 is significant. Applying the 3 sigma reduces this range. So the gap between +10 and the -10 becomes smaller. Now, if I aim for 6 sigma, the curve becomes much sharper and narrower. The variation is significantly reduced, minimizing the differences between the values or products I produce. Six Sigma operates on steps summarized as the make, which means define, measure, analyze, improve, control. This is often referred to as the make methodology in Sigma. So let us um, break it down. For the D, which means define, define the problem and objectives, understand the issues, and establish the clear goals. While for the M, measure, collect baseline data to understand what needs improvement and measure it. For the analyze, analyzing the collected data to identify the root causes of variations or issues. Letter I, improve. Develop and implement solutions, starting with a small scale implementations before rolling out organizational wide. And letter C, control, ensure the improvements are sustained by evaluating the results and establish mechanisms to maintain success. So let's go deeper into the make methodology step by step. When we say define, in this phase, you form a team and establish a charter. The team charter defines the responsibilities of each team member, including the team leader, facilitator, team members, okay, um, recorder, and etc. It also sets the ground rules, which dictate how meetings will be conducted. For example, no side discussions, no interruptions, all phones must be silent, meetings must start and end on time, and so on. You then plan for the project, collect the voice of the customer, determine customer needs or requirements, set goals, and begin mapping the process. Tools commonly used in the define phase include the SIPOC diagram and project charter. The SIPOC diagram helps map out the process steps. So letter M, it is measure. In this phase, what do we need to improve? Can we measure this? You collect baseline data. Baseline data represents the current state of the process. Tools used here include flowcharts that is similar to SIPOC, but specific to Six Sigma processes, run charts, control charts, and histograms. These tools are used to display the data graphically. Once the data has been collected, you proceed to analyze it in the next phase, which is analyze. Here, you analyze the data collected to identify the root causes of problems and variations. This is the phase where you dive deep into understanding why the process is not meeting the desired standards. Tools like process maps, value stream maps, and fishbone diagrams are used to identify the root causes of problems. If waste is identified, lean principles might be applied to remove it. Letter I, which is improve. Once the root causes are identified, you begin to develop solutions. You generate, evaluate, and pilot test these solutions on a small scale before implementing them fully across the organization. Tools such as brainstorming for generating ideas, visual workplace tools, and others are utilized to identify the optimal solutions. After testing the solutions, you move to full-scale implementation. Control in the final phase, you ensure that the process remains controlled and that the improvements are sustained. This involves evaluating the project benefits and ensuring long-term sustainability. Tools like control plans, checklists, dashboards, and control charts are commonly used. It is in the control phase that evaluations and sustainability plans are emphasized. Six Sigma derives its name from the concept of six standard deviations, or sigma, from the mean. So imagine a normal distribution to curve where the mean, median, and mode align in the center. In Six Sigma, the process aims to reduce defects to a very low rate, ensuring that most of the data points fall within six standard deviations from the mean. Understanding the Six Sigma in statistical analysis, the Greek letter sigma is used to denote a standard deviation from the mean. It is a statistical benchmark. Any business process which is achieving Six Sigma produces less than 3.4 defects per 1 million chances is considered efficient. So let's understand Six Sigma by this. Figure this straight line is the mean line represents by the mu that is equals to 0. Okay? With the horizontal axis showing distance from the mean denoted in units of standard deviation, which is represented as the sigma upper specification limits and the lower specification limits are at a distance of 6 sigma from the mean, even the mean were to move right, okay, right or left by 1.5 standards deviation or 1.5 sigma. There is still a safety quotient. If your process is behaving between 6 sigma, that means your lower and upper specification limit is on sigma. You'll be able to produce less than 3.4 defects per 1 million parts. If I make a comparison between the 3 and the 6 sigma, we can see defects per million is 66,807 in the case of 3 sigma, and defects per million are only 3.4 with the 6 sigma, which has a quality yield of 99.99997%. For instance, if you achieve 6 sigma, the probability of defects is, again, 3.4 defects per million opportunities. This means that out of every 1 million products you produce, only 3.4 might not meet the specifications. This represents a 99.9997 quality level, which is why Six Sigma is highly sought after in industries requiring near zero defect rates. If the process operates at lower sigma levels, the defect rate increases. For example, here, the 3 sigma, the defect rate is around 66,807 defects per million, while the 4 sigma, it is reduced to 6,210 defects per million. So this dramatic improvement at higher sigma levels illustrate why Six Sigma focuses on variation, reduction, and eliminating defects. A rigorous methodology that uses data and statistical analysis to measure and improve performance. The quality is improved by eliminating errors in production and service-related process. Okay, Six Sigma is based on the concept of the normal distribution or curve and the belief that there is a point, 6 standard deviations from the mean, where there should be almost zero defects. Let's continue with more details on Six Sigma and the DMAIC methodology. Define phase D in DMAIC. In this phase, you focus on defining the problem clearly and setting the objectives. So this includes launching the team and clarifying responsibilities. Second, establishing a project charter, which includes the project scope, goals, timeline, and roles. Next, collecting the voice of customer to understand customer needs and requirements. Next, setting goals that align with customer expectations and business objectives. Next is mapping the process using tools like the SIPOC diagram, um, which means suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers, which visually represents the process from start to finish. When we say measure M, here the goal is to collect baseline data to understand the current performance of the process. Steps include gathering data on the current process, next using tools like flowcharts, run charts, control charts, and histograms to display and visualize this data. Next is creating a baseline of performance to compare against future improvements. Letter A, analyze phase A in the make. In this phase, you analyze the collected data to identify the root causes of problems. Steps include conducting a detailed analysis of the baseline data using tools such as process maps, value stream, map, risk analysis, Ishikawa. Process maps is for a deeper understanding of each process step. Why value stream maps? Particularly useful for identifying and and eliminating waste. For the fishbone or Ishikawa diagrams, to identify the root causes of issues systematically. Pareto charts, to focus on the most significant problems. The 80/20 rule. The focus here is to find the causes of variation or inefficiencies and prepare for developing solutions. What about for letter I, which is improve phase in I in the make? This phase is where you generate solutions and test them. Brainstorming, potential solutions for the identified root causes. Next, evaluate the feasibility and effectiveness of these solutions. C, pilot test the solutions on a small scale to ensure their viability before full implementation. And once successful, implement the solutions organization-wide. For the letter C, control, C in the make. The final phase is about ensuring that the improvements are sustained over time. Use tools such as control plans, which are documented procedures to maintain process improvements. We have the dashboards and control charts to monitor performance continuously, and checklists to standardize the process and ensure adherence. Conduct evaluations to measure the success of the improvements and ensure sustainability of the changes to prevent regressions to old processes. This section provides a detailed explanation of performance improvement methodologies, including the Six Sigma, Lean, and how to measure performance using key performance indicators or the KPI and dashboards, as well as methods for disseminating improvement information. In the control phase, I conduct an evaluation of the improvement we have implemented along with its sustainability. There was also a question on the exam asking which stage focuses on sustaining change. The correct answer is control phase, where evaluation and sustaining the improvement occur. Among the tools you might use in the control phase is the control plan, which also came up on the exam. The question asks, what is the control plan used with? The answer is with Lean and Six Sigma. The control plan is specifically used with Six Sigma in the control phase. You can also use tools such as checklists, dashboards, and control charts. Let's go through a quick question to ensure everything is understood. So here's a typical exam question. If an organization does not reduce the 30-day readmission rate for pneumonia patients below 80%, the organization will face a financial penalty. So, if your organization fails to decrease the high readmission rate within 30 days to below 80%, you will be subject to financial penalties. The organization then decides to apply the Six Sigma methodology for improvement and use the DMAIC methodology for process improvement. The question asks, which of the following statements refer to the analyzed portion of the process? So let's break it down one by one. Number one, at baseline, only 18% of patients were admitted with pneumonia. That number two, baseline data for this project includes all patients with a diagnosis of pneumonia. Number three, patient education provided bedside by respiratory therapists was implemented. Number four, there was a significant association between readmission and asthma comorbidities. What's the answer? Any guess?
It's there was significant association between readmission and comorbidity of asthma.
Very good. Why?
As giving the after root cause analysis, they were able to form the association between readmission and
Very good.
comorbidity.
Yes, Dr. Nadim, bravo. Yes, this is the correct answer, and the rationale behind is correct. This refers to analyzing the data to identify root causes, which is part of the analyze phase. For the number one, this refers to collecting baseline data, which is done in the what phase? Collecting baseline data, Radha.
Measure.
Yes, it's measure phase. Okay, what about number 2? This refers identifying the data to be collected, which is part of the
Find phase,
measure phase also,
measure, yeah,
because
okay.
collecting baseline data.
Baseline data.
For number 3, the keyword here is implemented, which indicates this occurred during the
Application phase.
improve
Implementation.
phase. Improve phase. Okay, so correct answer is number 4. Okay, let's move on. The SIPOC diagram. In the defined phase, we also talk about the SIPOC, as you can still remember. Let me explain it more in details. So the SIPOC diagram represents S, suppliers, I, inputs, P, process, O, outputs, and C, customers. For example, I have a question. So what will I take and transform into what? I am saying that now I am working on the process of medication dispensing. Okay? I want to dispense medication. So what will come to me in order for me to dispense it and transform it into medicine? Will I receive a prescription, telephone, computer, printer, drugs directory? What exactly will I receive when working on medication dispensing?
Prescription.
Very good. Yes, it's the prescription. So when I process the prescription, it will give me an output, right? So what will be the output then? The prescription will turn into what?
Dispensing.
It's medicines.
Medicine.
Once you have a prescription, then you will have your medicine. It will
Mm.
turn into medicine, right? So
Yeah.
who here is the supplier? Who gave the prescription? Doctor, patient,
The
or recipient?
doctor. The doctor.
Yes, it's the doctor. So in our example, the doctor is the supplier. He is the one who gave me or created the input, yes, which is the prescription. The prescription, we work on it in the medication dispensing process, okay, and it resulted to
Output.
medicines.
Mm.
The output. This medicine, who will take it? Who is the
The
customer
patient.
here? Yes,
Patient.
it's the patient. So in the case of an outpatient pharmacy, meaning my outpatient pharmacy, so here it will be the patient. Okay? But if it is an inpatient pharmacy, meaning the pharmacy that
Inpatient.
provides medication to nurses and staff in the case of inpatient pharmacy, then who will take the medicine directly from me?
From the units. The maybe
Okay,
the
yes.
nurse.
Mhm. Okay, the units or the nurse. So here it will be the nurse or the courier who takes the medicine, for example, and distributes it to the department. So the person who takes the outputs from me is the customer here. Okay? Okay, so the SIPOC diagram is clear. The supplier is the person who provides me with the inputs. The process is what I work on with the inputs. The outputs are the results that emerge after I process the inputs. The customer is the last person who will take the outputs from me, right? So in the critical to quality, the buying time is less than 12 minutes. So all prescribed medications must be available. Okay, so buying time is only 12 minutes. Okay, now what's the difference between the DMAIC and the DMAIC-DV? They are both Sigma methodologies. They said, as we mentioned, we have PDSA and Focus PDSA. Similarly, in Six Sigma, we have the DMAIC and the DMAIC-DV. One is used for processes that already exist in reality, and the other for processes that don't exist yet, and I will design them new. So DMAIC, as its name suggests, it stands
Define.
for define,
Measure.
analyze,
Measure, analyze, improve, and control.
control. So DMAIC is for processes that are already in place. Okay, that's already in place, not new processes. When I say improve, it means it's already in place. So M,
M is measure.
measure. I means improve. So when I
Improve.
say I will improve, it means I am definitely improving something that already exists. So here, improve and control are improve and control are for continuous improvement, meaning already in place. But for the process that doesn't exist yet, I will create the DMA-DV. I'll say define, measure, analyze, design. See the name? Design,
Design.
which means I will create a design for a new process. Okay? Yes, not existing here. So design means I'll create a new process. And finally, I'll
Validate.
validate it. So here, DMA-DV is used for re-engineering, meaning a new process. A new process that I'm working on engineering. Okay? So this is the difference between these two. So I'll repeat again. If the process is already in place or exists, I'll work on it for continuous improvement using the DMAIC.
Demand. Mm.
Yes, continuous improvement using DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. For processes that are new, meaning we said we use Six Sigma for improvement. Okay, if the process I have is already in place, I will use the DMAIC because DMAIC includes improve and control. But for new processes that I want to create, exactly like Focus PDSA and PDCA and PDSA, meaning it's like DMAIC for new processes. PDSA also works for both, but here, the DMA-DV is for new processes that I am engineering, meaning new design.
Mm.
So here they are saying define, measure, analyze, design, and validate. So let's just understand the DMAIC is for continuous improvement, while the DMA-DV is for re-engineering. I hope this is clear and no one
Clear.
got confused.
Mm.
Okay, so this slide is talking about introducing you to what happens after when you later obtain a CPG and want to delve deeper into studying Six Sigma. So when we dive deeper into studying Six Sigma, we will start with there will be levels. So starting with white belts,
White.
yellow belts, just
Green,
like
black.
the
Mm.
yeah, just like in the karate belts, right? Are you all familiar? So you
Same.
start with the white, then yellow,
Yellow,
green,
green, black,
finally
and
black. So these are also belts specific to Six Sigma. The white belt holder, the person with white belt, has an introduction to the knowledge related to problem solving, themes, and an introduction to performance improvement methodologies. For the yellow, they know slightly deeper concepts and practical applications of Six Sigma. They are able to participate as a project team member and review processes for improvement. Here, the yellow belt holder can work with the Six Sigma improvement team and participate as a team member. Okay. Now moving on to the green belt. The green belt leads green belt projects and assists with data collection and analysis for planned projects. So here, when you are working on a Six Sigma project, the Green Belt certified individual is qualified to lead and assist with data collection and analysis. For the Black Belt, the Black Belt certified individual leads problem solving projects and also provides training and coaching to project teams. They train and coach the teams working on Six Sigma. Now, the Master Black Belt. The person who has attained the Master Black Belt level provides training and coaching to Black Belt and Green Belt holders and functions as the Six Sigma program leader at the organizational level. So this is the highest level role where they train and coach those holding green and black belts. Why did I bring up this slide? Each belt level has a test. I included this slide because they were asked a question in the exam also. The question was about forming a team working on a Six Sigma project. And it asks, for example, about roles like the green belt performing, let's say, data collection and analysis. For instance, one of the choices might say the yellow belt performs data collection and analysis. Obviously, that's not correct. Or it might say
Green belt.
black belt is a project team member. No, the black belt
Tech.
is not a team member. They are a team leader. So we need to understand these roles clearly so that when a question comes up, you know the correct answer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we have finished the Six Sigma. Let's move on to lean thinking approach. Lean thinking focuses on what? Lean's
Waste
main
elimination.
principle is the what?
Waste elimination.
Yes, elimination of waste or waste reduction. Any waste in the process, any unnecessary and redundant steps. I need to remove while working with lean. So that's the main thought behind lean, eliminating non-value adding steps. These are steps that have no value or purpose in the process and only increase the waste. I call them non-value added steps. My goal in it is to remove them by conducting a value stream analysis, by mapping and optimizing the flow of materials information, and just in time by matching supply with demand to reduce the inventory. A value stream analysis is when I map the process, examine the process flow, and optimize it. If there are any steps that obstruct the flow and are considered waste, I eliminate them. Must match supply with demand to reduce inventory. For example, you draw a value stream map like this one, where you map the steps of the process from when the supplier begins production until the product reaches until the product, reaches the customer. So you calculate the process time, okay? And the waiting time between each step. Then you look at whether there are any steps that are non-value adding and unnecessary. If so, you remove them because they are considered waste. Here, you create a visual display of the process and review it by mapping it. Identify waste, any non-value adding steps or activities, and remove them to speed up your process. This image shows value stream mapping or VSM, a tool I use to understand and improve workflows by identifying where value is added and where time or resources are wasted. It helps us analyze each step of a process from start to finish, from the supplier to customer. It starts with a supplier, for example, a doctor providing a prescription, and ends with a customer, example, the patient receiving their medication. The process steps, the green boxes here represents the steps in the process. For example, verifying a prescription or preparing the medication. So each step is something I focus on improving. While the data boxes, the orange boxes, show details about each step, like how long it takes, how many prescriptions are handled, or any issues I noticed, like delays. What about for the waiting time? The arrows between steps show the waiting time between processes. I use this to find delays like waiting for approvals or preparing medication. How I use this? Okay, I look at the wait times between steps, like delays in verification, and try to reduce them. I check the data, how long each step takes to find bottlenecks or inefficiencies. I make changes to the process to ensure the patient gets their medication faster and with fewer errors. By using this map, I can clearly see where the process works well and where I need to make improvements to provide better care. Clear? Now,
Yes.
regarding lean principles, it says define the value. That means defining the customer needs for customer expectations, what exactly they want. Then map the process. Map the process flow. Create a map for the steps in the process, identifying the value added. For example, of the value added like medication dispensing and non-value added steps like waiting for the prescription to be sent, manual entry of prescription details. So you have to start mapping the value stream and remove the non-value added steps. Pull from the customer. Okay. This means you produce products only based on the customer's consumption. You don't push production and make excessive products. For example, if your production line has an annual capacity of 10,000 cars, you don't go and produce 20,000 cars. That will leave you with issues like having excess inventory in warehouses, transportation problems, and having to constantly move stock from one place to another. Okay, so keep your strategy focused on pull, not push. Pull means you produce based on the markets and the customer's needs. You don't produce excessive quantities and work toward perfection. That means trying to eliminate any waste and ensuring that every activity creates value for the customer. This is the main lean principle. We've been saying that the principle of lean is the removal of waste. Now, what are the steps or forms of waste? These are summarized in the term downtime, which includes 8 forms of waste. D for defects. Any defect in your process is considered waste. O, overproduction, producing large quantities beyond market demand, that is waste. W for waiting or waiting time. Workers having to wait for long periods due to delays in processes is also waste. For letter N, for non-utilized talent, like staff who have great talent and skills in a specific area but are not utilized properly. For example, if you have a nurse, highly talented and efficient in ICU work, but due to a staff shortage, you place them in ER. That is non-utilized talent. For letter T, transportation, excessive movement of materials, products, or inventory from one place to another. Moving goods unnecessarily is also waste. For letter I, inventory, producing large quantities and then storing them in warehouses, constantly performing inventory counts, and managing excessive stock. That's a waste too. Letter M for motion, unnecessary human motion. For instance, in a process that could be completed in 3 steps, but instead it requires going to different people for approvals, like taking a signature from one person, then another, and so on. These excessive motions are waste. Letter E, extra processing, complicated steps in the process. For example, requiring too many approvals, paperwork, or multiple layers of management to finalize a task. All of these are waste. So, we've said that in Lean, the goal is to remove waste. And in Six Sigma, the goal is to, hello, the goal is to reduce variation. If I apply lean, I'll achieve the removal of waste, increasing speed, removing non-value added steps, and focusing on the customer. That achieves speed. And if I achieve Six Sigma, I reduce variation, improve quality, optimize the process, and focus on the customer, achieving accuracy. Now, if I combine both Lean and Six Sigma, then I'm working on improvement through Lean Six Sigma. That way, I achieve both speed and accuracy, resulting in better delivery, better quality, satisfied employees, and satisfied customers. The 5S methodology is a concept that encourages lean thinking by removing any form of waste. The 5S are a set of Japanese words that represent a methodology for organizing and maintaining a productive work environment. These words are seri, which means sorting and removing unnecessary items. For example, if you want to organize your desk or a crush cart, the first step is to sort out unnecessary items and get rid of them. So if you find things on your desk like a fork, a plate, or toys that have no relevance, you remove these items to keep only what is necessary. Number two, Seiton, set in order. Arranging necessary items in an optimal place for easy access. Number three, Seiso or shine, keeping the workplace clean and ready for use. This means maintaining a neat and tidy environment. Number four, Siketsu, meaning standardize, establishing a standardized arrangement for everyone. This ensures that anyone who comes to organize the desk or the crash cart follows the same standard, whether it is at a personal level or across the whole organization. Number five is Shitsuke, or means sustain, creating a system to ensure sustainability, regularly monitoring the process, ensuring compliance, and maintaining consistency across all departments and teams so that the standards set are continuously followed. There are 5S healthcare: sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain.
Okay.
Okay, now moving on to Kaizen approach. The concept of Kaizen is another lean tool used in continuous improvement processes. It focuses on the engagement and involvement of all staff in the organization. However, Kaizen is unique in that it emphasizes the rapid improvement or implementation and quick execution of improvement ideas. For example, if a question appears on an exam asking, "What is the definition of lean rapid improvement?" the correct answer would be Kaizen. Kaizen allows you to apply lean principles by removing waste, but instead of working on it for an extended period of time, you implement improvements quickly. Therefore, lean rapid improvement is Kaizen. Next is Kanban, is a pull system that focuses on preventing overproduction, which is considered waste. Kanban uses a pull signal rather than a push approach. This means you don't produce or order large quantities unless the current container or stock runs out. For example, a nurse managing stock for syringes ensures there's always one sealed box at the back and an open box in use. Once the open box is empty, they request a new one while using the sealed box as a temporary supply. This ensures you always have a single sealed stock without overstocking or risking expirations.
Mm.
Kanban focuses on producing based on empty containers and replenishing them accordingly. Now we come to rapid cycle change. This focuses on making rapid improvements regardless of the methodology used, whether PDCA, Focus PDCA, or others. The goal is to implement significant changes within a short time frame. The team working on it. This is called the Rapid Action Team or Rapid Accelerate Team. They work on improvement in a short time frame, focusing on radical or fundamental changes rather than incremental ones. This means making drastic changes rather than working on small parts one by one. All right, moving on. In the beginning, we mentioned that to set a goal, you need to measure your current performance. Measuring performance helps you set a realistic goals. After implementing improvements, you evaluate your progress to see if the improvements were successful. This requires performance measurement tools to evaluate and track your progress. For example, key performance indicators or KPIs are used to measure performance at the department level. Each department sets specific indicators to track, such as hand hygiene compliance, patient falls, or medication errors. These indicators help measure performance and identify areas for improvement. At the organizational level, tools like the balance scorecard and dashboard are used. They link objectives, initiatives, performance, targets across key organizational perspectives. The balance scorecard links four main departments in the organization. With the overall vision and strategy, it's a tool for measuring the performance at the organizational level. It aligns a long-term strategies with short-term activities. The balance scorecard focuses on four main perspectives. We have the customers, internal processes, innovation and growth, and financial results. Customers, these are both internal and external, while internal processes, these are processes within the organization. While innovation and growth, this includes market share, research, and innovative ideas. Finally, financial results such as budget and financial income. The balance scorecard helps leader focus on financial impacts because leaders are often motivated by the language of money. They want to see the cost and benefits clearly, which is why they like using the balanced scorecard. The performance measurement system based on and organized around the strategic plan answers the question, how are we doing? And are we there yet? It also ensures alignment by linking daily activities in these four departments to the overall strategic goals and vision. The balanced scorecard is essentially a translation of the mission, vision, and strategic plan into daily activities. All right, moving forward. The balance scorecard essentially provides a visual representation of how the organization connects its strategic goals and vision with the daily activities of its departments. So here's how it looks in structure. In the center, you have the strategic
Vision
plan and vision surrounded by the
and
four perspectives, okay, which are the customers, internal processes, financial and learning and growth. Okay, so each department is given specific goals, okay, and targets that align with the organization's overall strategy. This alignment ensures that the daily activities within this department contribute directly to achieving the broader strategic goals. Okay, next, we have the dashboard. The dashboard is another performance measurement tool, but it's more visual than textual. It provides a quick snapshot of performance improvements and results. It uses graphs, charts, and other visual elements to make it easier to interpret data. For instance, you can display the percentage of patient falls from the previous year compared to the current year or the reduction in surgical site infection rates. Dashboard focus on showcasing performance over a specific time interval. This makes them a quick, visual, and effective way to track and communicate improvements. Now, let's talk about the disseminating improvement information. Once you have implemented the improvements, it's crucial to share the results with the team and stakeholders. This ensures proper communication among frontline staff. You can use presentations, share reports, newsletters, or provide regular updates about improvement initiatives. This way, everyone stays informed and aligned. Finally, let's revisit the steps of continuous improvement. By one, evaluate the current performance means assess or measure the current situation to understand where you stand. Two, set goals and develop strategies, meaning create a plan for improvement by defining specific, measurable goals. Number three, implementation. Begin executing the plan, starting on a small scale and gradually rolling out organization wide. Fourth, evaluation and documentation. After implementation, evaluate the results to determine the success of the improvements. Document your findings and monitor the outcomes. And lastly, adjust. Based on the evaluation, make any necessary changes to your approach or strategy to ensure continuous improvement. So, this comprehensive approach ensures that improvement initiatives are not just implemented but are sustained and refined over time. Now that we have covered these foundational methodologies, is there anything unclear or that you'd like to go over again?
We'll read and tell you.
Mhm.
We'll once again go through it and see.
Which one?
No, I will do it, and anything doubt we'll ask.
Okay, okay, sure. Just you can just raise it there in our group if you have any questions regarding our lecture. So by consensus, we inshallah by next week, our
Monday,
lecture
Tuesday?
schedule will be Monday and Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you
So
so
if you
much.
don't have anything, thank you so much, Dr. Nadim, Dr. Gulam, and then
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Mokhtar.
Thank
So you
you.
can personally message me or there in our group. So good night, everyone.
Good night
And
to you.
see you, inshallah, again on Monday with our cases discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Masalam.
Thank you.
Wassalam.